Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Smith. I'm here with Tiffany Grunberg. We're with Family First Life Northwest, and the purpose of this video is to get you trained and ready to conquer the phones. 80% of this business is the phone, 15% is the in-home, and 5% is product knowledge. But if you don't get great on the phone, you'll never make the progress you need in order to really catapult yourself into success here at Family First Life. So I want to make sure and spend some time with you and have Tiffany. She's been very excellent on the phone the entire time. And we'll go over, how to approach each lead type. We'll even talk about overcoming objections and give you, thoughts on your tone, scripts, everything. That's what this video is meant to be for. So let's talk about the different types of leads that someone is going to call. You're really only going to call, direct mail, which would be final expense and mortgage protection. You're going to do internet leads, which is your instant internet lead or any other internet lead you might purchase. And then also you're going to have your social media leads that, generally speaking, are, final expense as well. And some of the questions that I always get about phoning is, how do I approach each leads, which I'll spend some time on, and then I'll pass it to you for some objection training that we'll both work on together and go from there. So a lot of times when we're phoning, I'm not a big believer in saying you're calling from the benefits center or the mortgage protection center or different made up names. I am pretty specific on why I'm calling, and it's all about what type of lead they filled out. So, when I call someone, I say, hey, this is Matt Smith. I'm getting back to you in regards to the, final expense and burial plan you requested on Facebook. The purpose of my call is just to verify that information. So I'm not saying anything tricky or anything that would cause questions like, who are you with? What's this about? All these things. I'm very direct in that first 7 seconds, because that's the most important thing, is making sure you're assertive. You don't sound like a telemarketer. A lot of times why people will hang up on you is because you do sound like a telemarketer, which we can talk about. But whether it's, a final expense Facebook lead, or whether it's, internet life lead, hey, this is Matt Smith. I'm getting back to you on your online request for life insurance quotes. The purpose of my call is just to verify some information. Same opening. Whether it's, if it's a mortgage lead, I'm just saying, this is Matt Smith. I'm getting back to you in regards to paying off your mortgage if you were to die. The purpose of my call is just to verify that information. So it doesn't matter what the lead source is. I'm just verifying what that is, and I'm setting that appointment as well. A couple things that I like to do in regards to scripts up front is, after I've said the purpose of my call is to verify this information, I have your, height, weight, or whatever information's on the card. I have your address as this. I have your, age at this. Now, when you took the time to fill out this form, was it to alleviate the burden for final expenses on your family? Was it to pay off the more, whatever the lead is, right? Alleviate the burden on your family for final expenses and burial costs? Was it to make sure to have the loan paid off if you were to die? Who is the beneficiary essentially? So I want to get to know their why, Tiffany, because every time I get to know their why, I'm able to actually know that they care enough, and those are the people that we want to sit with. Now, if somebody says, I don't know why I filled out the form, or I don't, then you're kind of dealing with the uphill battle. So the reason why I always verify information and say, when you took the time to fill out this form, who was your primary beneficiary? Was it a spouse? Was it your adult children? Was it your cats and dogs? Whatever it is.
Right.
I need to know, simply because then I know you care. And then, Tiffany, talk about, after we verify that information, the best way to tie down the appointment, go over time frames, all that stuff, because I think tying down the appointment is something that is crucial. You're going to have some no-shows. About a third of your appointments you set are not going to sit with you. However, if you're getting more than about a third, it means you're doing something wrong on the phone. So let's talk about how to tie it down.
So I think that one of the biggest things is when you are talking to people, and here's the thing, when you first talk to a new agent who tells you they're great on the phone and you want to run script with them, 99.9764% of the time they are not going to even know the script. So like when Matt's talking about how to verify that information, you have to go in and practice it. I used to practice it in the mirror, in the car when I was driving to appointments. I needed to get better. And then you add in tying things down, and it's just that next step, because your no-show ratio, right? You can't beat yourself up when you have a third of the people that don't sit with you, but when it's 50, 60, 75%, that's you. That's 100% you on the phone. So when it comes to tying down an appointment for me, I'm very simple. I think I learned, Matt, from you, and I just parroted mostly. And that's just a simple conversation with your client to say, hey, John, I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing the information with me. Now I'm dispatched in your area on Tuesday. I don't have a ton of time. I see about 10 families per day, and I have availability. Now this is a key. You want to give them 2 times to pick from. Okay, I have a 10 a.m. and I have a 4 p.m. Which of those 2 times works best for you? Now, if you just go at them with a specific time, they're not going to be available every time. Now, they may sit at home staring at their TV for 24 hours every day. You tell them 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., they're not going to be there. Right? They're going to be busy. So if you give them 2 opportunities to choose their time, I think 4 o'clock works better. Perfect. Now do me a favor. I need you to grab your calendar and I need you to write my name down. It's Tiffany. What time did we say? 4 p.m. Perfect. I will see you then. Now I need you to do me a favor. Because I have 10 families that I have to see every day, I need to just make sure, is there any reason you and your significant other would not be there at that time? Because if so, we need to find a time that you can both be there. I don't want to give this time away and, so on and so forth. So when you're doing that, you've given them the opportunity to own the time, right? I will be there at 4 o'clock. You've also given them your schedule. Listen, I have a lot of people I have to see. My time is valuable, so is yours. We're not wasting time. That's a big objection that we hear a lot. I don't want to waste your time or mine. So moving forward and just making sure that they understand I am coming to see you, I'm delivering this information to you, I think is how you tie that down. And then I like to ask them, what time did I say? Yeah. So that they can repeat it back to me and I know where we've gone. We know exactly, I'm going to see you guys then. And I like to say, I'll see you then.
I think it's important for you guys to understand with those tie downs too is, any reason why we won't both be there, right? And then also, layering it with, are you good at keeping your appointments?
That's great.
You know what I mean? Are you good at keeping your appointments? And the other thing that we need to address is, so you've got your introduction, you got your verifying of information that we just talked to you about. Then we got to make sure and sell time. Say, hey, I'm going to be dispatched out in the area. It's going to take 10 to 15 minutes of your time to get you this information. So when we're on the phone, it's just concentrating on getting this information. We're not giving any quotes on the phone. We're not doing any of that. It's just purely, it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes to get to this information. And then the key aspect, which a lot of new producers fail on, is, especially with someone that's working, say, hey, are you working or retired? I'm working. What time are you and your spouse generally home from work? So now we know that we don't need to do a 10 a.m. time and a 4 a.m. It's more like, I can squeeze you in on Tuesday between about 5 and 5:30, or I have a 7:30 to 8, which works best for you. So now we identify the proper time to where they're going to actually both be home and both be able to present that product to them. So it's crucial to, introduction, have good rhythm and pace, have confidence, right? Then you're moving into verifying that information. Then you're moving into selling time and the appointment and the information to them. And then that tie down is your final piece. And they should be really quick, amount of time on the phone. You shouldn't be on the phone for layers of time. It's not that complicated, but it's amazing to me how many times, because we do a lot of live dials. So Mondays and Thursdays on Zoom, we get on and we train agents to make phone calls on the same leads that everybody else is calling. So one of the important parts about phoning is making sure you're plugging into the office that you work closest to, or live dials with your team. Because then you'll get to see producers calling the same leads that you're calling and deal with the same objections, and then you can steal some things from people that you like and disregard the things that you don't. That's crucial as well. But you got to make sure to become a student of the game, because just like Tiffany mentioned, I see a lot of people wing it. And so many people wing it, and it is the biggest epidemic in our industry is how bad people are on the phone. So if you think you can get into the business and just wing it and think that the money's going to follow, I promise you not the case, because the biggest thing I can tell you is you don't have a money problem in this business, you have a people problem. So your job is to get great on the phone to eliminate that people problem, then the money follows every single time. So let's talk about some of the objections that you'll receive on the phone. I'll start with, a lot of internet leads. And by the way, you can use this portion of the objections, and I'll throw some at your way, and make sure that you understand how to overcome these certain objections. So a lot of times with internet leads, Tiffany, or any lead, whether it's, I just want the price, that's probably their number one thing, and why they don't want to meet with you is, I just want the price. And it's crucial to acknowledge people. A lot of new producers, when they're on the phone, they don't even acknowledge what people say. They go so far into the script that they don't even acknowledge that they're a human being on the other side of the phone. It's like they
don't listen at all. At all. And it's like when we're training and listening, and here's how I know like we haven't practiced enough, is because it's very simple. When you get an objection at you, you stare. And you do nothing because you don't have anything come to you quickly because you haven't practiced enough. And the client wants to object. It's natural. It's human nature to want to object to something like that, especially since telemarketing is a huge, epidemic in America, right? We have tons of telemarketing calls. So when you are on the phone and you haven't, worked on it and practiced, this is what makes you great on the phone. This is why Matt is so good, is because his brain works 1,000 miles an hour when it comes to an objection, but he listens. Like I'll watch people and they'll be like, "Oh, I can't because I'm at the coast today and tomorrow." Great, so you'll be there at 5 p.m. tomorrow? Yeah. No, you have to listen. You have to find that way to hear both sides, but you also need a key phrase. Whatever your turnkey phrase is, so mine's perfect. I like to say perfect, that's the purpose of my call, or perfect, no problem. And then you move into going right back to the script and setting the appointment. But you do have to listen enough to be able to actually correspond and relate to that person, because you want to be someone they want to see. Someone who just barrels through you, you're going to be like, this person's never going to listen to me. I don't want you in my home. Totally. So you have to learn to be somebody that they want to see. And that, we find that as one of the biggest things that is a problem, is when you do get an objection or you don't get off the phone soon enough. I'm like, oh, they got it. And then they're still on the phone. Like, no, hang up. Like, you got it.
Yep.
You got it. So I think, we can definitely, talk about those objections, but that is the first thing that I notice, is when an objection comes your way, you have to be able to critically think. You have to be able to listen and move forward. Like, just acknowledge and move on. And
it's important when those objections happen to move back to the script right away. And that's why, like you said, perfect, that's the purpose of my phone call. It's such an easy transitional phase to whichever avenue that we'll talk about here as far as overcoming objections. Because what I see a lot of times with producers is they get caught up and they try to make things up. I see it all the time. Like, no, where did we train that at?
Wait,
like,
no one said that.
Yeah, like that. Okay, you can say bad things. That will. I promise the leads don't suck. I promise the phone skills probably suck most of the time if you're not setting appointments. So, like, if you understand that price is a big motivator for everybody, right? Then, and you just, whatever lead type it is, hey, I just wanted the information, or I just wanted the price, right? Same thing. Say, actually, great. That's the purpose of my phone call. These are non-medical options, which requires me to ask you some health questions, which I'm sure you can understand. I can't do that over the phone. So I'm going to be dispatched out in your area. On Tuesday, I can see you between about 6 and 6:30, or 7:38, which works best for you. So now you transition into telling them, I'd love to do it. You heard them, right? You heard them.
It.
That's good. That's a good start.
Yeah,
you heard that, and then you transition into everything else. Talk about, just say, hey, I'm busy. Talk about the quick set appointment. Hey, I'm busy, call me back type thing.
Right. So you'll get that a lot. And as long as you as the agent on the line, you understand that no one's too busy because they answered the phone. This is that mindset, you have to get into the right mindset before you dial. No one's too busy. So you say, perfect, that's a purpose of I am a big purpose of my call, right?
Yeah, me too.
Matt and I are the same human, so I learned from the best. So the purpose of my call, no problem. What time are you typically home from work? Or what time are you and your spouse typically home from work? 5 p.m. Perfect. I'm dispatching you out in your area on Tuesday. I'm going to bring by your information at 7 o'clock. Do me a favor. I need you to write this down. And you just keep going back to the same thing because people, and that's a quick set appointment. Now, if I set aside and they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Most of the time what will happen is that they'll go, oh, wait a minute. You're coming by and then you've bought more time. And that's what you wanted to set a solid appointment. Yep, exactly. Yep, I'm going to be dispatching your area, delivering your information to 10 other families. It takes me about 15 minutes. As long as you don't have a ton of questions, I'll get you the information. I'll be on my way. Now, what time do we say? 7 p.m. So you just go right back into it. And a quick set, I'm a huge fan of quick sets because, again, people don't want to stay on the phone a lot, but you have to recognize that they answered. Yeah. And you may never get another chance to talk to that person. So you've got to get that appointment set when they're on the phone.
I think it's crucial to understand you only get one shot on
Yes.
the phone. So that's why quick setting appointments is so good. And the other thing you got to realize about quick setting appointments is, hey, this is in regards to paying off your mortgage if you die. This is in regards to online request for life insurance. This is in regards to your final expense and burial costs. You have to tell them, because they're trying to get off the phone. Oh, perfect. That's actually the purpose of my phone call. This is in regards to the final expense and burial costs you did online. What time are you and your wife generally home from work? Oh, we don't work. Great. You're retired? Yeah, we're home during the day. Okay, I can get you this information. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes. I'll see you between about 3 and 4, on Tuesday. Give yourself a little bit of time because you want to be able to not have to, call them to when you go to the appointments or anything like that. You want to make sure that you just have a broad area in your calendar so you're not scrambling and moving all over the place as well. I think that's important. Talk about some other objections that you can think of that we all get.
So I think time obviously is a big one. I think not interested is one of the, especially when you're doing a large volume of leads and a large volume of dialing. Not interested is probably something that you're going to hear a lot. So people tend to go almost aggressive on this one.
Yeah.
I think Matt has a really good way of overcoming the not interested one. Yeah. So how do you handle that one?
Yeah. Were you not interested because the price was too high or because you could not qualify? See what I'm saying? So now great. Actually, that's the purpose of my phone call. I'm assuming the price was too high or you couldn't qualify. Which was it for you? Actually, we already took care of it. Okay, great. That's actually the purpose of my call. See, I could just translate.
Purpose of my call.
Already took care of it. Now we can cover another objection. Already took care of it. Great. That's the purpose of my phone call. Right now with the new programs that came out, we can really increase your coverage and decrease your premium. So I'm going to be out in your area. If you could just have your policy out when I get there, it'll take about 10 or 15 minutes to do so. I'm sure you filled out multiple forms to make sure you got the best offer. Is that correct? One of my favorite words for already taking care of it. Like, I'm assuming you took the time to fill out multiple forms to get the best offer. Is that true? Yes. Great. With how the premiums have changed here in 2020, we can help you increase your coverage or decrease the price. Just have the policy out. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes to get you this information and improve your existing coverage. I'll see you Tuesday between 3 and 4. It's all about just transitioning into setting that appointment and that time every single time. Any other objections that you can think of that are, those are the prevalent ones, already took care of it.
So one of the biggest
busy.
ones, yep. And here's the thing, like if you're listening, you're hearing us match the objection with the objection. Mm-hmm. So time, I know, I totally understand. I'm super busy as well. What time are you guys typically home? It was time. Time was their objection. Time is your solution. Same thing with I'm not interested. Perfect. What were you not interested in? Okay, perfect. And then you keep moving back into what they're saying. That's the thing, like you have to listen. You can't just, again, railroad people. You have to kind of hear what the objection is and then move around in it. One of the other ones that we hear a lot is going to be, I didn't fill that out. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably right now, especially we're working a lot of, online or internet leads where you're going to have people that are going to say, I didn't fill that out. I like that objection, honestly, because the information's correct. Their name's correct. Their phone number's correct. Nobody falls down on a keyboard and accidentally puts in all of their information. That doesn't happen, right? So when you're talking to people, I think the biggest thing is we have to learn to be empathetic. You have to put yourself in that client's position on the phone. So you have to start saying, look, I totally understand. I know you think I'm a telemarketer. That's not what I'm doing. There's no list that you got put on. You actually, somebody who cares about you or you yourself have put in your information and asked us to give you a call about life insurance that is regulated through our state. My job is to get you that information. I don't have a ton of time. And as long as you don't have a ton of questions, this is going to take about 10 minutes. And then you just keep going. So that's the thing. If you stop and you try to combat that, well, could it have been someone in the house next to you? Right? That doesn't happen. People fill out information or fill out forms for information because they want it. They just don't like how you're delivering it.
Yep.
So you have to put yourself in their shoes. You have to be empathetic and say, look, I totally understand. I get a ton of telemarketing calls every day myself. Just to make it clear, I am licensed through your state to deliver this information. Of course, telemarketers are typically in another country. So my job is very different. And, so you just put yourself into it, make it more personal so they're not feeling as though you're, just like everybody else. You have to be the person they're going to sit with.
Absolutely. So to recap for you guys, understand those 4 phases of a phone call, of your appointment setting. Make sure that you have your introduction, your verifying information, your selling time, then the tie down, and then understand how to pivot once you get that objection, and always, understand the motive is price. A lot of times when you get somebody that, I didn't fill that out, it probably, like Tiffany said, it could have been their spouse or daughter, son, something like that in the household. So making sure you identify the right person on the phone up front too is, make sure you ask for the person on the lead that filled it out, because that's important too. Otherwise, you'll probably get a lot of that. So some of that's big. The other final closing thoughts is I leave voicemail. And I've set 3 appointments more a week by leaving voicemails in my career. Everybody asks what the voicemail is. I'm specific. Hey, this is in regards to your final expense burial costs. You request this information. My phone number is here. If you want to be vague and you want to twist it to your words, do you. I don't care. My point is I leave voicemail, and I've set more appointments than ever, especially when we're talking about social media and internet leads. Leave voicemail right away, every single time. Because those leads get called, and they need to be called quick. Direct mail is not as quick, although you need to call them quick, but they're not as urgent as a on-time, like instant internet lead or social media lead. And then the final thing is make sure that you do *67 and block your number, because I'll call 3 or 4 times in a row, and then I'll do *67, and then people will pick up the unknown number. And that's a very effective way to set maybe 3 more appointments a week. So if you're not utilizing voicemail and *67 in what you're doing as far as phoning, then you're not going to have maximum results. And what we want is maximum results so you can get in front of enough people.
Another thing another big question we get when it comes to phoning is, what time is the best time to dial? Anytime is the best time to dial.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. I know that it seems like there's some magic, key to all of this, and it's just not. There's just not. Pick up the phone, stay focused, set your time frame for your dialing or your goal, your appointment goal, whatever it is, but don't get up. Don't leave. If you got to go and get a drink of water or do something like that, that's fine. Yeah. But anytime you decide is your time to dial, commit to it. That's the biggest thing I see agents that'll, they're struggling on the phone. They're getting, a lot of no's, and then they're like, well, I'm going to go do this and then I'll come back. But you don't come back. So really, make yourself an employee on dial day more than anything else. Just know how many hours or how many appointments you have to put in to get where you need to go for your appointments. And then again, the more you dial, the better you get.
I tell you one thing. In the first 8 years of my career, Tiffany, 250 dials was always the minimum that I'd make. And if you can't make 250 dials, it means you don't have enough leads, number one. So that's a different scenario. But 250 dials, and a dial is simply make a phone call. It doesn't matter if they pick up or not. It's just counting a phone call. So I do, hash marks 1, 2, 3, 4, hash 5. I do 5 dials, and then I'd move on. $250 should be a minimum every single week, but it is a recipe for success as well. So understand what winners do too is when they set the amount of appointments they think that they've achieved. So, hey, I set 15 appointments my next 2 days. I've arrived. I'm good. Do yourself a favor. Dial another hour, because somebody's going to no-show. And when we think that we've arrived, that's usually when we probably should do more. So do things that make you uncomfortable like that, and you'll notice your business propels dramatically. And what's crazy too is, like, if you dial a 4-hour block and then you dial one more hour that you didn't plan on maybe doing, that's when the magic happens. All of a sudden everybody picks up in the extra hour, but maybe they didn't pick up in the first 4 hours. And that's great input and advice as far as, if it takes all day on a Monday, on a Thursday, to dial to get your appointments, and that's what it takes. If it took you 2 hours or 4 hours, that's what it takes. And the good news is the more you do it, the better you'll be, and the less time you'll be. But in the beginning, you might be dealing with older leads and you need more time on the phone. Whatever it takes is the attitude that you must have, and you cannot wing it. That is my main message. You have to be equipped. It should be embedded in your brain, no matter what objection you have, no matter what type of lead you call, that it's easy to set appointments for me. They filled out that information. You're not a telemarketer. It's a simple deal. So stick with the process and the plan, and I think you'll have maximum results. So thanks for your time.